This is my financial disclaimer so I don't get sued. Good morning, good evening, good whatever time it is you're listening to this. I hope you're having a good one. I'm going to be going over the SPY and data sets for June 24th, 2025. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump straight into the data. And going over the data for tomorrow, just focusing mainly on what's important. We have the consumer confidence at 10 a.m. That's going to be pretty important, but the fact that Fed Chair Powell is speaking at the exact same time, kind of makes Powell overshadow, whatever the consumer confidence is going to release. Now they're expecting it to be a little higher. I don't expect it to be higher. Every report we've been seeing has been, um, showing and suggesting weakness. So again, we should kind of anticipate that to come in lower. Fed Chair Powell will be doing a congressional testimony. It's over 2 days. I believe the testimony lasts an hour and a half each time until all the congressional questions are answered. But they can ask him some pretty yield intense questions. So yes, it can move the market. I'll be discussing that in a little bit. Now, there's the 2-year note auction. That is slightly important because we're interested in seeing where the yields are going right now. Seeing how the yields have been pulling down. Let's check today's yields. I thought there was an auction today. Guess not. Okay, so the auction is tomorrow then. So we are looking to see if, based on what Powell is testifying, if the yields are going to be pulling downward or not. If we see the yields pull downward, it's generally going to be bullish for equities, bearish for the treasury yields. But if we see the yields pull upwards, then we will see, it being bullish for the treasury yields, it being bearish for TLT, it generally being bearish for the market. So we'll see about that. Now at 12:30, we do have Fed member Williams speaking. Shouldn't be too important. Mainly, it's going to be based on everything Powell says for the day. Now we do have Fed chair or Vice Fed Chair Barr speaking, but that's pretty late in the day. So really not a whole lot of data. It's mainly going to be the 10 a.m. Data set. If you're enjoying this, please check out my Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can join our community chat and access our tools like the Unusual Whale Spot and our own personal GEX and DEX market positioning. My $12.99 premium tier gives access to my personal trades, 2 live classes a week, which are on Wednesdays and Sundays, and direct support from myself. The links to join are below, but you can also join through patreon.com/wooksy. Thank you for supporting me to help you build skills for a lifetime. Now, going over the data, as always, we're going to go over the daily chart and go over our Bollingers and our moving averages. And we had a pretty interesting day today. As I talked about in the video last night, that potentially the market can use this 20 mile range as a, basically a huge slingshot to a, that came out weird, slingshot to pull upward. And so far, we're seeing that. Currently, the overnight price is at 603.13. So, that's pretty massive, seeing how this was at 591.89 this morning. So, very impressive day. That's a whole $11-12 move if we are able to hold this overnight action. Now, before we go over the moving averages and the Bollinger Bands, just understand why why we're picking up in price so much right now. President Trump released a post on X or Truth, whatever it is, saying that essentially Israel and Iran will be basically making some form of a peace agreement and that there's going to be a ceasefire. So the market is taking that as, good bullish news. They are seeing that as removing some uncertainty from the market. We don't have to worry about oil prices increasing. We don't have to worry about the Strait of Hormuz or whatever it's called um, being closed. So there's a lot of very positive things from this, and no one likes war besides crazy people. So uh, yeah, that's good. The market's getting a nice little boost from that, and oddly enough, it's working out really well with our moving averages. Now, enough of that. Let's quickly go over the moving averages, and then I'll discuss the day tomorrow. The market closed at 615, and our 5 MA is currently at 597.36, which means it's very, very likely going to be pulling up right up to that 599 range. And the 10 MA is at 598.28, so that means that the 5 MA will be pulling above the 10 MA. That's a very bullish thing. That's one of the last signals you're looking for as a bull to start pushing back up into the upper Bollinger. So that's a very bullish move. For the bears, that's kind of clearing all the bearishness out of the way right now. If we do hold that level and maintain that move, meaning basically having a 600 plus close tomorrow as well. That would kind of solidify the 5 mall holding that range. Now, let's see. I didn't want to go over the 20 mile, but I'm going to go over it because it was a very key level today. So the 20 mile currently is at 593.98, and the low of the day was at 591.89. And if you remember our rules of how to determine a bottom or upper bounds of a moving average, you basically add $1 to $2. So if we take away $2 away from the 20 mile, that puts it uh, basically 9 cents off the or 11 cents off, excuse me, I'm not counting correctly, but 11 cents off um the low of the day. So um it's right within that lower bound range of the $2. So it's funny how that worked out, but these moving averages often do that, which is why I created the lower bounds and upper bounds of the moving averages. Eventually I'll write about it, but haven't gone there yet. But the 20 MA is pulling up. We tested that range very, very thoroughly. We rejected it, and so far we are now working to reject both the 10 MA and the 5 MA. With the 5 MA being at 599, very likely tomorrow at open. That means that the upper bounds of the 5 MA will be around 601, potentially to 602, depending on how high the 5 MA opens at. And the lower bounds of the 5 mile will be around the 597. So that gives us quite a range tomorrow. And what I'm really looking for here is for the market to uh, use the 5 mile as a magnet. And remember what I've discussed about that before is that either it's going to attract towards it or repel away. What we're looking for is for the market to repel away from that level, and that would be upward. It doesn't show it on this chart right here because of the overnight, but we are very well above the upper or the 5 mile right now. So technically, if we keep testing the upper bounds of the 5 mile, so say we pull down tomorrow from the current overnight, which is at 603, very impressive, and that was because of the cancellation of the war in Iran, right? Cancellation of World War III. Um, but because of that, the overnight's at 603. That means that with the upper bounds of the 5 MA being around 601, as long as we continue to reject that 601, 600 range on the upside, so rejecting down, meaning we pull downward in price, hit that range, and then start bouncing upward, then that means that the 5 MA is trying to turn into a support, kind of like in this previous upper Bollinger move. When the 5 MA becomes a support like this, that's when you get some of the most bullish pushes. Just go throughout your daily chart and you can see many, many examples of that. But that's what we're potentially seeing right now is an upswing in the moving averages, and where does that lead to? that leads us to the upper Bollinger. Now, currently the upper Bollinger is at 606.28. It's very, very likely on open tomorrow that'll be very close, if not above the 608 range. So that's starting to pull to that 609, 612 range that I discussed in Sunday's video, where we would see the market price pulling the upper Bollinger as well upward. So as we continue moving upward and pulling support upward, we will continue to see the upper Bollinger open up on the upside. So that's kind of where the bull's target needs to be from here, as long as we continue holding the moving averages in a bullish stance, meaning the 5 mAh is above the 10 mAh, the 10 mAh is above the 20 mAh, and everything's honky-dory from there. Okay. Now, going over any structures on the hourly, hold on, let me go hide the moving averages and the Bollingers. Now, we have broken away from, and I'm going to set this to the 4-hour chart, but please follow along with your hourly chart so you can see a little better. We were in a very heavy consolidation range right here, and I discussed this last week, how potentially this can turn into a very large inverse cup. Well, today's action kind of, blows the top off that cup. If bears want to continue this cup downward, they have to go through all the supports again, retest all the supports, break down all those ranges, pull down below the lower Bollinger, to now close this inverse cup, just because of the action today. If we had, a move down and say we held closer to that 5.0 or the 591 range, this would have been a huge, very, very different story. We would have been seeing this turning very, very bearish and starting to work on that I believe it's 583. No, it's 581 now because of the dividend. But that 581.60 gap, we'd be seeing that getting worked on to close on the downside. But it's not what's happening. That has fully rejected, and what we're now looking for, and let's see if I have any crazy drawings, but this is, to me, a very, very decisive break from the major selling channel. The reason why is because if you look at this cup right here, the 604.51, and I haven't checked our after hours and everything, but I'd bet you it's very close to that. And if not, we'll very likely hit that tomorrow really early on, if we don't have some crazy sell-off due to Powell. But we close this cup right here. And now that we're working on closing that cup, and again, this is, a week and a half worth of trading, so that is very heavy consolidation. What we're looking for now is a potential bearish structure in here. That bearish structure can be the upper Bollinger move taking us all the way to that 612, potentially 613 range. Usually these type of bullish cups like to really push the second edge of the cup upward really high to build a bullish structure in there, or a bearish structure, and they use that bearish structure to build a handle, and from that handle, they push higher levels. But the long story short is, so far, based on the moving averages and everything, we should be looking for the move to all-time highs very soon here. But potentially we could consolidate in here a little more and retest the 5 mAh, and then start working on pushing the all-time highs and the upper Bollinger again. So I'm going to end the video here. I'm trying not to make these videos too long anymore. Yeah, I hope everyone has a great day tomorrow. Trade safe. Ask questions in chat if you have any questions. If you enjoy my content, please feel free to subscribe and like my videos. It helps me a lot. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.